Can I just say as we start this, it is so great to be talking Michigan football on the channel. It is just fantastic. Growing up, I had to watch 2 games every single weekend. It continued into adulthood, even when I had children. 2 games every single weekend. I love watching football in general, but I had to watch the Lions game. And, we have another channel, Sports Talk Detroit. If you're a Lions fan, haven't seen go check that out. Hit subscribe on that one. And the Michigan Wolverines. And now we have Sports Talk Wolverines. It is so great to be able to talk the 2 teams that I love the most. And so here we go. We're going to talk about that. The Michigan Wolverines got a double dose of good news. But before I get into that, what is your win total for this year? Hit us with a comment below. Are you over under 10 wins? What are you looking at out of this team? And a lot of it is the linchpin that is the quarterback. We were 8-5 last year, somehow found a way to beat Ohio State. Love it. All right, beat Bama again. And we said goodbye to the old era with Saban with a victory, and we welcomed in the new era, Kellen DeBoer, with another victory. And so, but we had losses throughout the season that were tough, where we were just a capable quarterback away from being a playoff team last year. And I think the team that we bring back this year in many ways can be more talented. And I want to talk about 2 guys right now. That's the double dose of good news that are going to be instrumental in that at key positions. But then I also want to spend the back half of the video talking about our offensive line in general. And I'll go more in depth on this, but I am fascinated by the offensive line. This is a offensive line that in the past, under Sharon Moore, had been a 2 times they had won the award for, Joe Moore Award or something like that, for the best offensive line in the country. Each of those years they made it to the college football playoff, the 4-team playoff, and lost to Georgia and to TCU. And then the year after that, they were a finalist for the award. They didn't win it, the offensive line, but then they won the national championship. Sharon Moore has created great offensive lines, but now that he has become the head coach, the recruiting has bumped on the offensive line. And our 2023, 2024, and 2025 classes are loaded with 4- and 5-star talents. And so what I think you're going to get is this great coaching that combines with elite talent, and you are going to see something that is really, really impressive. Now, last year, the offensive line took a step back, which makes sense because they're replacing 4 of the 5 starters. It's just going to take a step back. It is. But one of the things that's making a really good and noticeable thing is in practice, and the first bit of the good news is Evan Link. And Evan Link is a guy that was recruited in the 2023 class. All right, he was a consensus 4-star prospect outside of 247, which ranked him so far outside of what other people had him ranked. It doesn't even make sense, but 247 likes to get a lot of their testing numbers from camps. He didn't go to a lot of camps. Doesn't make any sense, right? So anyways, with all of that, everybody else had him as a top, really, 100 player. He was a 4-star guy. Very, very impressive player. Now, he was trying to hold off freshman, highest ever recruited offensive lineman that Michigan has ever had in Andrew Babalola. Andrew Babalola, this guy is going to be a future star. This is the future on the left side for this team. He is going to be great. Sharon Moore said when you get him in a room with Ty Haywood, they're 2 of the smartest guys he's ever met in their life. He doesn't even like to be in the room with them because they're so smart. And that's why both of them are actually in the conversation for starting left tackle. I would not be surprised if at some point throughout the year, one of them burns the red shirt. It would be Babalola burning the red shirt and actually gets the starting nod. I think it could be possible. I really, really do. But we'll see what ends up happening. But there are some offensive line position battles. If Evan Link can win this battle, that's a good sign. All right, because what we're hearing out of camp is that there is already a marked improvement, even though Michigan's in the submarine, right? And they're not talking to anyone and they're taking the social media break. But we are hearing that he has had a great improvement a great improvement, which is a really, really big deal because we need that left tackle to be there. All right. He did fine in the bowl game last year. All right. He started at right tackle last season and struggled, but he did fine in the bowl game, and he's been battling Babalola for that starting left tackle job. He's clearly more comfortable on the left side than he is on the right. So he probably, with offensive linemen, here's the way it works. When they come into college, you can almost put it in pen that they're going to redshirt their freshman year because the jump from high school to college in physicality is ridiculous. Almost guaranteed it. Evan Link, we knew when he came in, he had a good frame, but he needed to put a lot of muscle on that frame. And so we knew that it would take a couple years in order to do it. So he must have really improved, which is exactly what you want from a 4-star coming out of school. All right, we're going to get more into the offensive line here in a second. But before we jump into that, let's talk about another player who you might remember. His name is Jair Hill. This is a cornerback that played and started in 9 games for us last year. Had a lot of opportunities with Will Johnson being consistently hurt with who knows what. And Jair Hill, I think a lot of times we just know how good Johnson was and how he was, he was the number 2. He was the next Charles Woodson. He was all of these different things that when he was hurt, we were just going to be disappointed with what happened next. And Jair showed flashes of brilliance last year, but not the consistency. Well, wide receivers coach Ron Bellamy met with the media yesterday and said this about Hill. He said, and I'll even show the quote for you on the screen. He said, "I love Jair. Jair's balling. Jair's doing good." All right. Secondary coach Lamar Morgan said Hill was loaded with talent. That's why CBS Sports projected him to be a first-round pick this fall. Another reason, the dude is 6'2". I'm looking at it. It says 6'2", and I said 6'4". Capable of being an elite cover corner. Now, the one thing he struggled with was consistency. But if Bellamy, who sees him going against their wide receivers every single day, said that he's balling out and that he's doing a great job, it means that he's probably put some of that stuff together, which could be good. All right. Now, I do want to talk about something for a second. There was a difference. And one thing Michigan has changed over the last few years is the physicality now not only matches, but nobody can match theirs. I remember the year after we went 11-2, we beat Virginia Tech in the bowl game. Denard Robinson was the quarterback. It was Brady Hoke's first year. And the next year, we went down to Jerry World in Dallas to play Alabama. And we went down to play Alabama, and you could tell, we thought, our team's big, it's physical, it's going to be great. This is a great test for us in Alabama, and it wasn't close. That was what it was. Now you fast forward into the last 2 years in the bowl game. Last year, 2 years ago in the national semifinal, and then last year in the bowl game, our team looked to be bigger. Our team looked to be stronger. Our team looked to be faster. I'll do another video on that, just talking about how in this world of NIL and the way in which Michigan is recruited and the physicality that they teach, they have become the big bad wolf once again that Michigan used to be. They used to be that in the 90s. They used to be that in the 80s with Bo Schembechler, where they would get off the bus and it would be intimidating because they were the bigger, stronger team. We're starting to have that. Michigan, on our defensive line, has 11 dudes in our defensive line that are over 300 pounds. 8 of them are over 310. That is insanity. NFL teams don't have that. NFL. So there is a large level of physicality. I'm excited to see what that could bring. If this offensive line can mesh and come together with the talent that we have at running back and a growing freshman quarterback, sky's the limit on this. I'm telling you. All right. Hey, thanks for watching. We're going to keep coming out with videos. This is one that a lot of people haven't heard about, right? Is what's the battle at left tackle? What about corner? Of course, we'll do more videos talking about Bryce Underwood. Justice Haynes actually made a mistake. Justice Haynes made a mistake and gave away a little bit of who the starting quarterback is going to be. I'll talk about that in a future video, and we'll talk about a couple of other things just hidden down on that defensive line. All right, thanks for watching. See you on the next one.